Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and Marvel Studios' Fantastic Four could finally show Galactus devouring Earth, as well as the true reason behind incursions, and Reed Richards and Sue Storm's kids, Franklin and Valeria Richards, as the Future Foundation ambassadors separated from their parents on the other side of an incursion disaster, setting up the Secret Wars conflict. The 2025 Fantastic Four film officially begins production this month, starting in London the Monday after Comic-Con, which would mean that what Marvel Studios plans to reveal at Hall H, and potentially even a clue in Deadpool and Wolverine on that same release weekend, will be something so big it's going to be impossible to hide once the cameras start rolling. And this video was sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes launching your own website a breeze. So let's take a closer look at some posters being set up around the San Diego area ahead of the convention and break down everything we have learned about the Fantastic Four film. So folks in the San Diego area have reported seeing new posters for San Diego Comic-Con coming later this month, including official art from Marvel showing the silhouettes of the four heads of the team: Reed Richards, Johnny Storm, Sue Storm, and Ben Grimm. I particularly enjoyed Sue's art because it's just a dashed line silhouette to indicate Invisible Woman. Reed's hairline, meanwhile, suggests the iconic gray in his hair, the salt and the pepper, a look that wisens the man up after his blast of cosmic radiation, really helping make him look so iconic as the smartest man alive. Johnny Storm is orange, suggesting he could currently be on fire here, or he's just reverting to his normal form, but leaving some smoke trails because he's still sizzling. Ben Grimm, meanwhile, is just a lumpy orange rock, but we love him. But if you look closely at this poster, beneath the Fantastic Four logo is another logo for the Future Foundation. The Future Foundation is the in-universe organization Marvel Studios seems to be using to distributing their Fantastic Four announcements. On 4/4 Day, when Marvel released their Johnny Storm poster, it came with a link that took you to a page showing Herbie with a jokey 404 error code, and then hidden on Herbie was a QR code that would take you to the real page from the Future Foundation. Delegates were glad you could join us to prepare for the upcoming meeting. You've been granted access to read these issues on Marvel Unlimited, and this reading list includes Fantastic Four number 1 from 1961, the very first issue, and then Fantastic Four numbers 48, 49, and 50 from 1965 to 1966. This was the Galactus arc, and then Fantastic Four Life Story number 1 from 2021, which is really a reimagining of the family set in the 2000s. So what is the Future Foundation? Well, it's a fairly recent addition to the Fantastic Four canonicity from Jonathan Hickman in 2010. It's really Reed Richards' philanthropic organization to better serve humanity's future, and it's known for a lineup of young kids who are superheroes. The initial young recruits would include Zero G, that's Alex Power, as well as Dragon Man, and then the evolved Moloids, Tong, Turg, Mike, and Kor, as well as Bentley 23, who's a clone of the Wizard, followed shortly by Artie Maddox, the mutant Leech, Reed's father, Nathaniel Richards, and Spider-Man. That's right, part of this lineup who is telling us all this information might include a version of Peter Parker out there in a white suit. In the lead up to the 2015 Secret Wars storyline, the Future Foundation is loaded onto Reed Richards' lifeboat ship, but this is right as the incursion between universes 616 and 1610 is causing a horrible calamity, and this incursion causes a breach in the hull of this lifeboat, so these kids end up getting separated from Reed, and then shortly after this, all these kids are wiped out. Of course, they later get restored when the multiverse is fixed at the end of Secret Wars, but it is pretty frightening when it happens to them. But for now, here in the cinematic universe, I think Marvel Studios might be using the Future Foundation as kind of a bit of meta marketing, similar to how they would use like Miss Minutes in the TVA in the lead up to Loki. The TVA had all the company propaganda posters that would have their own clues for us to pull apart. In this case, I think the Future Foundation in the movie is going to be Reed and Sue's kids, Franklin and Valeria, their organization that they might have with an alternate universe Peter Parker and a bunch of alternate universe Young Avengers. With the help of Herbie, this is going to be a contingency plan to try to beam out a kind of SOS across the multiverse as part of a hopeful mission to try to save or restore their parents and to warn all of us about incursions. Basically, I think the Future Foundation is what's going to be left after the calamitous events of this Fantastic Four film. Actually, I think Marvel Studios may have hidden Franklin and Valeria in plain sight in the original Valentine's Day poster. On the wall to the right around the corner from Ben Grimm's astronaut portrait are two other smaller framed photos that are a bit hard to make out, but I think you can see younger kids in them, and I think those are Franklin and Valeria. In the 838 universe, the John Krasinski Reed Richards confirmed that he had kids, and Reed and Sue just having Franklin and Valeria seems to be important to their canonicity, according to Marvel Studios, at least as important as anything else. So what else do we know about the big events of this Fantastic Four film? Well, Johnny Storm actor Joseph Quinn told comicbook.com that this movie would be really going for it.
I'm very excited. I'm nervous, obviously, but I'm really looking forward to getting into it. The script is amazing. The director's fantastic. The intention behind it is we're going for it.
And Galactus actor Ralph Ineson told the Movie Dweeb outlet that he read the script and it's really effing cool.
I got the part and I read the script, so I was like, that's cool as fuck. And now the more I've understood about the universe and the way it all fits together, I'm like, yeah, that's really cool as fuck.
So I don't think you get the Galactus actor who doesn't know much about Marvel to say that unless they're actually going to do something like allow Galactus to devour planet Earth, and for this universe to be marked for destruction by an incursion. Perhaps an incursion is the only way these members of the Fantastic Four or their kids could escape Galactus. Like, I think for there to be any survivors, the happy accident of an incursion will have to be occurring. I think we may just learn that in the Marvel universe, every universe that isn't meant to last very long will just be doomed for an incursion as a natural occurrence. And in case you've been under a rock, we know that this Fantastic Four movie is going to be set in an alternate universe. We got confirmation last week that Kevin Feige himself actually might have seen our video, or at least our thumbnail. This is a video back in April that analyzed the cityscape background on that 4-4-day Human Torch poster, and we deduced that this movie would be taking place in an alternate universe, 1960s New York. Kevin Feige brought this up in the inaugural episode of the official Marvel podcast, where he said that Fantastic Four is his favorite upcoming MCU film and started to give us quite a few details about it.
I find that there's a lot of talking at each other. You know, Marvel talks at our fans through our work in many ways and through certain presentations. And the fans speak at other fans and at us through, you know, incredible fan-made podcasts and YouTube pages and things like that, which are just remarkable.
The Fantastic Forecast announcement artwork, for example, was very 1960s influenced, suggesting that we might get a period film?
Yes, very much so. It is a period, and there was another piece of art we released with Johnny Storm flying in the air and making a 4 symbol, and there was a cityscape in the corner of that image, and there were a lot of smart people who noticed that cityscape didn't look exactly like the New York that we know or the New York that existed in the 60s in our world. And those are smart observations, I'll say.
Yes, Kevin Feige did not mention us by name, but you know, he said podcasters and YouTubers, and I don't know who listened to a podcast to get visual analysis of a marketing poster's artwork. So yeah, I think he was talking about us, or at least like us collectively, right? So if you're going to introduce an alternate universe, as they did in Multiverse of Madness, you're gonna populate it with alternate universe Marvel heroes. It's gonna be fascinating to see what other heroes and villains are gonna be accompanying this Fantastic Four in this alternate 1960s universe to make it distinctively Marvel. Because before they destroy it, they're going to want to flesh it out as a proper Marvel world to make us feel bad that we're losing it. If you do business online, then you need a website, and it's got to look good. Luckily, getting a great looking website is easier than ever thanks to Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform that provides you with everything you need to do whatever you need with your website. For instance, Squarespace makes it easy to sell merch. You can design your products, then save time and money by letting Squarespace handle production, inventory, and shipping. And if you're selling any other kind of physical goods, digital goods, or even a service, Squarespace makes it easy to build your storefront and grow your business. Squarespace has a massive asset library with everything you could possibly need. Whether you're building your first website or polishing up one you've already got, Squarespace makes it super easy to customize your look, update content, and add features to make your website work exactly the way you want it to. Just head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/newrockstars to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. The reason the Fantastic Four are important to Marvel is that they were really Marvel's first family. They were the entry point for so many other characters in the 1960s. They essentially crossed over with everybody. Introduced in Fantastic Four comic issues in particular were Black Panther, Black Bolt from the Inhumans, Agatha Harkness was Franklin Richards' governess, Adam Warlock, the Skrulls were like the third villain the Fantastic Four faced. And of course there were early crossovers with Spider-Man, and that's not even including the later crossover that gave us the bombastic Bagman. They would know the Hank Pym era of Ant-Man, and of course an early Avengers lineup. I feel like the opening act of this film is going to just establish these heroes as people who have already thwarted a number of villains from that initial 60s run of the Fantastic Four. Like, we're gonna see quickly vanquished villains like Mole Man, the Puppet Master, maybe even Pharaoh Rama Tut before they know that he's Kang the Conqueror. And then the main conflict of this movie is gonna be with Galactus, preceded by a live action Jeffrey Wright Uatu the Watcher. That'd be fun, right? And as Galactus closes in on this planet to destroy it, the Fantastic Four going to have the chance to escape this universe through a rift in space-time to our reality, or stay behind on the sinking ship? So if we game out the scenario where the Fantastic Four make it out through a rift in reality, while the entire universe after Galactus eats it gets destroyed through an incursion, imagine that Fantastic Four arriving in the present day of the MCU. Yes, they would not have the history with the Avengers that are currently active in the MCU, you know, like Doctor Strange, Shang-Chi, Peter Parker. I mean, no one knows who he is, but they would know alternate universe 1960s variants of all of them from their home reality. And Reed could actually end up being an ambassador to other realities coming into convergence in Avengers Secret Wars. He could be our representative to the Council of Reeds. At the end of the day, I think ultimately Marvel's game plan with incursions was to use all of these Phase 4 and Phase 5 titles to make us afraid of incursions, to see incursions as like an apocalyptic scenario for the multiverse that we must avoid at all costs. But now, starting with Fantastic Four, leading into Avengers 5 and Avengers 6, I think we're going to learn that incursions were actually a natural good thing, a rebalancing of the multiverse, and that maybe even these incursions, like in Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars Time Runs Out run-up, that maybe these incursions were expedited by Doctor Doom and Molecule Man and the Beyonders to merge some worlds together and essentially release the restrictions that kept all these universes apart and that kind of fascist order that was dictated by Kang variant He Who Remains using the TVA. So really, what are the reason for all these incursions? I think that reason is just multiversal nature. And why are they waiting till the Monday after Comic-Con and after Deadpool and Wolverine's opening weekend to start shooting Fantastic Four? I think they're going to use details like that little comic book, and specifically how they're going to codify the word incursions and start introducing other cameos that could exist in alternate universes on the street level of the alternate universe 1960s New York that this Fantastic Four occupies. So we're going to see all kinds of random bizarre cameos of just like differently suited Avengers. And I think they recognize that when they're shooting in London, it's just going to be really hard for them to hide those cameos. Comment down below with your thoughts, and what alternate universe Avenger from the 1960s do you want to see the most? Personally, I want to see like an alcoholic, super Cold War militaristic Tony Stark in the clunkiest Iron Man suit you've ever seen. I want to see a Black Panther with the cape. But let me know in the comments down below what you want to see. Follow me at EA Voss. Subscribe to all 3 channels in the new Rockstars network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.